everyone, welcome back to my channel. Sorry this video is super late. My roommate got COVID, so I had to move out for kind of a week and a half, I guess, a hot minute. I wasn't home. And other update, don't know if you can tell, my shelves have moved again. Now they're in a completely different part of my room, and I think they're gonna change some more in the next couple of days. So the next video, it will be different again. I should probably stop mentioning that the books are different. You should just expect that I change the bookshelves every couple of weeks, and that's about how often I film. Anyway, this will be my August wrap up, so let's jump into the books that I read this month. For starters, let's talk about the one and only nonfiction book I read, also the only not YA, like sci-fi fantasy book that I read. It's by, oh god, I should look up name pronunciation, Michio Kaku. It's The Future of Humanity, Our Destiny in the Universe. And so this is a book basically about space travel and how humanity will continue to expand through our solar system and perhaps eventually the universe. How scientists are working on exploring distant worlds, how people will survive in distant worlds, or like in space, things of that nature, exoplanets, what's going to happen to our planet in the future. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was easy to understand for someone like me who is definitely interested in space and space travel, but definitely doesn't have the formal education in those subject matters. But also it was still in-depth enough to make me feel like I was really learning some valuable information, and I didn't feel like I was being like left out or talked down to, because I have read a good bit, I want to say, nonfiction, space, kind of physics, that kind of thing. So it was basic enough that I could understand it, but advanced enough that I didn't feel belittled, basically. So I did really enjoy this book, and if you're into that kind of thing, I think you'll really enjoy it. I did see some negative reviews from people who are probably do have more formal education or more well-versed in the subject matter, who said that it was really basic and didn't really offer any new information. But I guess it's not for that audience. So that was that book. I did really like this a lot. Then, to just get it out of the way, I feel like I only had one really disappointing read this month, and it was The Final Six by Alexandra Monier. I thought that I was really gonna like this book because it seemed to be along the same veins of the Nixia trilogy that I really liked. It's about teenagers who are specifically picked and trained to go to Europa, I want to say, or is it Io? One of the moons of Jupiter. But I didn't like this book really at all. It was just kind of boring, and the characters fell kind of flat for me. The romance between the two main characters felt really forced and unnecessary. And I know that there's a sequel to this, and it does end like on a cliffhanger, and I don't know if it's a trilogy or if it's just a duology, but I'm not interested at all in picking up the next book. I just felt that this was, I don't know, maybe if you're a younger reader kind of interested in sci-fi, it will appeal to you more, but for me, it just was, again, dull, boring. Even though it ended on a cliffhanger and I have no idea what's going to happen to the characters, I didn't feel involved enough with them in their story that I care about getting the next one. So, unfortunately, really didn't like The Final Six. A book that I did really like was Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. This book was super interesting. I've had it on my shelf for a hot minute and have really wanted to just read it, so I just did. It is about a young Native American woman who lives on like historically Navajo lands. It's kind of like post-apocalyptic, and what's really neat is like the outside world has been flooded by, you know, global warming, the ocean levels rise, and so basically they're kind of confined to their Navajo lands. And it's like in this post-apocalyptic world, all the traditional Navajo stories, like their folklore and their gods and like spirits and all those kinds of things, have come back to the land. So there's a lot of, you know, like the mischievous like coyote as a character in these books, and the main character is a like a warrior who kills the monsters that are now roaming free on the land. Anyway, I thought this book was super interesting, super unique. Definitely have not read a story like this. I am really excited to read the sequel, but I am kind of nervous because it looks like the sequel to this one ends and you need like more story, but people don't know when the next book is coming out, and I can't figure out when the third book is coming out. And I really haven't heard a lot about this book, so I feel like it's maybe not popular, and maybe the publisher didn't pick up another book in the series. But again, I did really like it. I loved the characters, I loved the mythology, and I thought it was so cool to read a story where it's not like a token Native American character, like all the characters are Native American. I just think it's a really valuable perspective and a really valuable story, and also just super interesting, action-packed. I really liked it. Next, I read An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This book I felt was fine. Now sitting back to, I can really tell the books that I really enjoyed when I'm sitting down to do my monthly wrap up and I'm looking back and I like can't really remember what happened because it just wasn't that memorable. It's just kind of, it wasn't bad, but it's just kind of like a cute, fluffy, fae love story. I'm trying to think of how to describe it now. Like fae in this universe, they aren't able to make things, so they really covet having people that are able to make things for them, and people like make bargains with the fae. So like the main character is a painter and she paints for the fairies, and they like give her like magic chickens that lay eggs every day, or like little bargains like that to kind of keep her and her family going. I literally can't really remember the finer details of the plot. She does fall in love with this like hot guy, and I think they live happily ever after. Does she become an immortal fairy? That's I know a really big plot point is that he's immortal and that she's mortal, and making that love work because she doesn't want to become immortal, because humans can't, like the fairies can make humans immortal, but they kind of lose their humanity when their lives go on forever. And I'm just kind of rambling. I can't really remember the finer details of this book, but I'm not going to get rid of it. Like I said, it wasn't bad. It was just like a cute, fluffy love story. It didn't offer a whole lot, but it wasn't like badly written or anything. The next few books I have were rereads from when I was much younger, and I just wanted to see if the books were as good as I remembered them being. And friends, they really weren't. So first I picked up Alana, the first adventure in the Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamora Pierce. I'm the worst. But anyway, I really like Pierce's other books and her other series, and I remember really enjoying this series. But this book, first of all, let me just show you the print. I feel like I read them when I was like reading for like YA, and so I was really surprised. Like the book is so small and the print is so big. I was like, this seems like it's for a really young reader. But it's about this girl, in case you don't know, it's about this girl who, in this kingdom, women aren't allowed to be knights, but she really wants to be a knight, and she has an identical twin brother who really wants to be a mage. And they end up, when they are leaving their father's home, they like switch positions so that her brother Tom can be educated to be a mage and she can train to be a knight. And so this is kind of the beginning of her adventure in learning to become a knight and hiding that she is a woman from everyone. So this was fine, really targeted for younger readers. I probably will keep reading the series just because I am curious to see how the rest of it also holds up now later in life. But if you don't have any nostalgic ties to the book, definitely do not pick this up if you're in your 20s like I am. Like, you won't like it. And the next couple of books were in the same series, the Ranger's Apprentice series. I read book 1, The Ruins of Gorlin, and book 2, The Burning Bridge. Again, not going to be good books if you don't have any nostalgic ties to them. I thought they were fine, but I kind of don't know if I'm going to keep going with this series. I remember reading them when I was probably in like middle school, early high school. and I didn't get through the series. Like, I was reading them at the library, and either they weren't all published yet or my library didn't have all of them. So now I was like, oh, I'll go back. I remember that series. I'll pick up the books, and I can like get to finish it. But now I'm not as invested in the characters as I am. It just seems like super predictable. There are some things that are really cheesy that I don't like as much now that I'm older and I'm more of a critical reader and I just expect more things from my books. So I don't know if I'm going to keep going with this series in particular, but I feel like if you're in middle school or like late elementary school, they would be good books to read, but if you're an adult, they really don't have any like storytelling power. They're about a young boy who is becoming a ranger, which is kind of a guardian of the realm, I guess. They're not knights. They're kind of like spies. It's really kind of difficult to describe. But anyway, those are those books. They're fine. Don't read them if you're an adult and didn't read them as a kid. You'll think they're really dumb probably. So those are all of the books that I read in August. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm so sorry that this is tragically late. Bye!